Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This week I wanted to share my sculpt fail. I guess it's more of a painting fail. Overall, I wanted to share my process of trying to make this character by Carlos Grangel. Okay, so if any of you watched my Lightbox video from last year, you'll know that I love Carlos Grangel's work, and I've been wanting to do this character he designed for Hotel Transylvania. I of course start with my planning phase on paper, as I do with every sculpt. When I was drawing this, I wanted to make sure that I really got the line of action down, because with my last sculpt, it was pretty stiff, so I wanted to focus on how I can make the pose dynamic and really feel like this zombie is holding the weight on his chest. So I make sure to draw the lines of action, even the bar across his chest, to remind myself as I'm sculpting that this is supposed to curve. I then map out the inside of what I'm gonna make with the wire, the armature inside, and where I'm gonna bulk it out with foil. I also want the armature to poke out past his feet so that I can mount it on a wooden block. And after I got this planned, I went ahead and started with making the armature. I take my drill and I make the armature, bending it so that it follows the curve of that line of action I drew in the beginning. And here I am with that wooden block, marking the feet of the armature and drilling holes so that I can put in the armature. And the tape there is just a stop for how far to drill so that my armature can stand properly. Bulking the middle up with foil now to conserve clay. And keeping the shape of his body as best as I could with the foil. And here I'm just drawing a profile of what I think the zombie looks like from the side. And I start sculpting. This first pass is getting clay down and smoothing it and focusing on the base shape of this zombie. I picture him kind of like a sack of flour and making sure to pinch on one side and stretch on the other. When I started this, I already made a huge mistake, and I kind of have done this with all the sculpts I've done so far, and that's start off with a clay base that is not the color of what I intend it to be. I find that painting polymer clay after is a pain, especially when you don't have great painting skills like me. It would be easier to start off with clay that is already the color that you'd like it to be, and then just add washes on top. And here I'm just checking for likeness. Right now the likeness is that of a raw whole chicken. And then I just continue. I really try to visualize this in a three-dimensional space, and I use the tools that I am now most familiar with, like the silicone pointer thingy. I don't know what that's called. Silicone tool? And take my time on the details. This is very painful to watch because when I was working on it, I was actually pretty proud of how it was turning out, but in the end, it just turns out a horrible fail. At this point, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm just adding the final details now, like the buttons, the hat, the creases, the rips on his shirt. Like I said, this part I think turned out pretty well. I could really see that I was getting the essence of the character. And here I'm testing out the wire bar for the thing he's holding. And here's my first of many fails. For some reason I thought it'd be easy to wrap clay around that wire. It's absolutely not. It would not stick even with the bacon bond I tried to lay on top. So what I did was just make the ends of it, bake that, and then tried to paint it later. And off camera, I had to do the hands because they were rough. They took me forever. It was the first time I was doing hands, and they definitely need more practice, but I don't think they turned out too bad. Also adding his sleeves and his bones to that and baking that off. And here we go. Where I ruin it completely was painting with gouache. Now, when I did my Pennywise sculpt, I did paint with gouache, but I was smart enough to do acrylic underneath. And that's where I went wrong here. Putting acrylic underneath is helpful because it adds like a plastic base and is not activated by water. So it's like a thin plastic paint layer on top of your sculpt. Gouache, on the other hand, is literally just putting water activated paint. It's bound to chip off, as you'll see right here. And this is me trying to cover it up as best as I could. And you'll see here a little better that the brush just picks up the gouache around it. So all the time I took painting this sculpt, it turned out completely uneven and is chipping off as I speak. So this is it for now. An absolute fail, which is heartbreaking because I wanted to do Carlos Grangel's character justice. But hopefully I can chip off this paint and come back to it, or just start over with clay that is the base color already and doing washes on top. But either way, I hope you can learn from my failures, and at the very least you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.